Hey everybody, you're watching a physio named Jonah. That's this guy. Where today we're talking about these things. Cool, right? In today's video, I'm going to take you through my personal experience with these toe-segregated anomalies of the footwear world, straight through from why I bought them in the first place to why I've recently moved on from them in my running routine. Now, let's go back in time to the 2018 version of Jonah who bought these things in the first place. I bought these Vibram Vtrain 2.0 running shoes using gift cards that I got for my 23rd birthday. When I went to the store in the first place, I knew that I wanted to get some minimalist running shoes because I'd had good experiences with zero drop or minimalist shoes in the past. If you don't know what those terms minimalist or zero drop running shoes mean, don't worry, we're going to cover them in the next segment. Now, what I decided on that fateful day back in May 2018 was that I clearly want to take minimalist running shoes to the next level for me. I tried out multiple minimalist or zero drop runners and ended up going with the ones that had the least support and the only one where my toes were not allowed to touch each other. I tried out all of those minimalist running shoes on the treadmill for about 3 or 4 minutes and decided, yeah, the ones with the toes will do for me. I was finishing up my first year of physio school at the time, and honestly I think a piece of me bought these shoes because they were kind of trendy or cool, or at the very least different. You may not think they're cool, but I wanted to seem like a cool physio, where if someone came in and asked me about minimalist running shoes, I could point to these things that I had worn and say, hey, I kind of know what you're talking about. I think another piece of me, a very honest side, has to say that these design, being a little bit unique, kind of goofy looking, whatever you think, it draws a fair amount of attention. And, based on what you're watching, you may have put together that attention is not exactly something I hate. Let's quickly get into the specs of these shoes. The first thing you notice is pretty obvious. Yeah, the separated toes make a pretty loud statement. The idea behind this is to keep your toes spread out so they don't get all smushed up together as they would in a conventional narrow toe box running shoe. Whether or not you think these are necessary is pretty much up to you, and you can't deny these things kind of look like JJ Casuals.
Whatever, keep it natural with shoes that look like feet.
So, these Vibram Vtrain 2.0 running shoes fall into the zero drop category. The drop of a running shoe refers to the difference in cushion height between the heel and toe of the running shoe. That means since these are zero drop, there's no difference between the cushion height at the heel versus the toe. Let's give some perspective on that drop height we're talking about. The average running shoe has a difference between the heel and toe or drop of about 10 millimeters, with less than 6 millimeters being considered a low drop. The idea behind having a lower drop or zero drop is to mimic a more natural foot position during the run. Having a lot of cushion underneath the heel more so than the toe can encourage more of a heel striking running pattern. One quick glance at these running shoes we're talking about today, and you'll probably believe me pretty quickly that they fall into that minimalist category. There's not a whole lot of shoe there. But what does minimalist mean? Minimalist running shoes refer to shoes that don't have a whole lot of cushion or structured support to them. This means that the term minimalist refers more to the amount of cushion as to the way it's spread out over the shoe. The cushioning of running shoes is also measured in millimeters. Now, the average running shoe has a cushioning of between 18 and 30 millimeters, or somewhere kind of in that ballpark. Let's take a look at these things that I've been wearing. The insole on these shoes is 2 millimeters, and the rubber tread on the bottom is 4 millimeters. This means that the entire amount of cushion between my foot and the ground is 6 millimeters. That is not a lot. It's essentially as close as you can get to not wearing a shoe and still be allowed to go in the gym.
But he is wearing shoes.
Oh, JJ Casuals. My apologies, sir.
Quick clarification on minimalist versus zero drop just before we move on. You can have a shoe that is minimalist and not zero drop because it just wouldn't have a lot of cushion, but there would still be a difference between heel and toe. In the same way, you can have a zero drop shoe that's not minimalist. It would just have a thick cushion that'd be the same at the heel and the toe level. Let's move on. My first impression wearing these shoes were not amazing, and this started just by putting them on. I was surprised at how many times between here and here I would lose my toes and they would end up in the wrong slot. Before these were broken in, it was a serious chore to put them on. Also, when I started out, This Velcro strap across the front of the ankle I found really uncomfortable during my runs or any exercises that I was doing. The company Vibram is pretty upfront about how difficult the transition is going to be to these shoes from your old running shoes. They include a timeline in the pamphlet that comes in the box, which goes over a matter of months and I think gives a pretty realistic expectation of how long it's going to take. Because I'd had some experience with minimalist running shoes in the past, I think I was a little bit overconfident about how well this transition was going to go. I still did go in cautiously though. I was running about 2 or 3 times a week, intervals of 400 to 800 meters to start off, with breaks of exercises in between. I was running around a track that was close to my house and I was doing the exercises on the outdoor exercise equipment there. The running itself was also definitely a change. I didn't realize how minimal the cushion would feel until I actually started running in it outside. I felt every single impact between myself and the ground, which is the idea of the shoes, but is jarring when it's what you're changing to. I do have to give these shoes some credit though. A confounding factor in this whole thing is that I hadn't been running a lot before this, so I wasn't just trying to switch shoes, I was also trying to get back into running, which may have mixed up my initial results with them. After that summer in 2018 of running, I stopped running consistently and fell away from my regime because of a little thing called passing physiotherapy school.
Passing physiotherapy school.
It wasn't until October of 2019, this past fall, that I actually got back into running with any sort of routine again. My girlfriend Nicole and I decided that we wanted to get back into it together, so we started running as a warm-up before the gym. We do short intervals of run and walk, and this is how I started to build up my mileage again. We gradually increased our running time over those next 5 months to the point where I could run 20 minutes semi-comfortably in these Vibram Vtrain things. I say semi-comfortably because I still found these shoes pretty harsh when I was running on the treadmill. It was just that with only bouts of 20 minutes or less, it wasn't all that noticeable. At this time, I was also wearing these shoes as my gym shoe for my workouts and things like that, and I really enjoyed it for this purpose. Now that I had them a little more broken in, I didn't have as many problems getting my toes into the toe slots, and the Velcro strap across the front had stopped bothering my ankle. I was very satisfied with these as a gym shoe. When we talk about experience, I think this is important to bring it up here. These shoes stink worse than any other running shoe I've had in my entire life. You can absolutely wash them, they're machine safe, but I find they build up stink faster than any other running shoe I've ever owned. Couple this with the fact that Nicole thinks they look totally ridiculous and they're not the most welcome members of the household. Once the slightly warmer weather of March in Toronto came around, Nicole and I took our running endeavors outside for the most part. This is where I started to notice some issues with these running shoes. When I was running on the grass beside the sidewalk around the track, they felt amazing. It felt awesome to feel the soft ground under my feet and feel the nice spring. However, when I was running on the pavement sidewalk, which most of the running is in Toronto, at least around where I live, they were quite painful. I started to notice a pretty significant pain in my inside of my ankle building up, and it started to last after running sessions and was still there, if not worse, the next time. We still weren't at a lot of mileage. We were doing runs of 3, 4, 5 kilometers, but it was starting to become unsustainable because I was getting so much pain building up in my ankle. So in late April of 2020, I made a running shoe change. I still opted for something with zero drop and relatively minimalist, but with a fair bit more cushion considering most of the running I do is on pavement. I'm currently using the Ultra Solstice running shoe in this very fashionable blue. They're a zero drop from heel to toe and they have a cushion height of about 18 millimeters. Now that's still on the lower end of most running shoes, however it's about 3 times the cushion that I was used to, and I have definitely noticed the difference. They do have a bit of a wider toe box compared to your average running shoe, so while they may not have the distinct toe slots of the previous one, they still allow a little more space up in the toe region. You can see this as I compare them to my New Balance shoes that I would just use for kind of kicking around. My ankle irritation has been significantly improving, thank you very much for asking, and while this may be due to my own physio rehab efforts around the ankle, I think that the change from one shoe to another has also made a big difference. Once I go back to working at the gym again, I'll be going back to using the Vibram Vtrains. While I may not love them for running, I did like using them for lifts and functional movements. The form fit along the inside of the foot makes it easy for me to see what my arch and toes are doing during a squat, which is nice because I'm a pretty picky physio and I like to look at my form. I'm also totally fine with people looking at me like a goofball as I wear these because, I'm never going to be that cool anyway. Now, I want to emphasize that my goal with this video is to outline the experiences of one physiotherapist with one pair of running shoes. There is absolutely no one-size-fits-all prescription or treatment when it comes to running shoes. There's so many different brands, sizes of cushion, stack, everything, that it's very unique to the individual runner. If you're interested in making a change in your running shoes, it's recommended to not make drastic changes in your drop or cushion height too quickly. And as always, if you're experiencing pain during a running routine, I highly recommend speaking with a healthcare practitioner who can properly assess you. Thank you everyone for watching. Your support is truly appreciated. If you're new around here, check out some of my other videos or consider subscribing if you enjoyed what you saw. In the comment section below, let me know your thoughts or experiences with minimalist running or just running in general. It'd be great to hear from you guys. Other than that, move your body, have a laugh today, and I will see you at the next video.